In November 2021, Allbirds went public on the NASDAQ at $15 a share. The company raised $300 million. At its peak, it was valued at $4 billion. Time magazine had called its shoes the most comfortable in the world. Silicon Valley was obsessed with them. The founders were on magazine covers. On April 15, 2026, the same company announced it was selling its entire shoe business for $39 million and becoming an artificial intelligence company. That is a 99% destruction of value in 5 years. And somehow, the story gets stranger from there. To understand how we got here, you have to understand what Allbirds actually was. The pitch was elegant, simple, minimalist wool sneakers made from sustainable materials, sold direct to consumers at $95 a pair. No celebrity endorsements, no loud logos, just a clean shoe with a clean conscience. The sustainability angle resonated perfectly with a very specific, very influential customer base, mainly tech workers in San Francisco and New York who wanted to feel good about what they wore to the office. Allbirds did not just sell shoes, it sold an identity. And for a while, it worked brilliantly. Revenue hit nearly $300 million in 2022. The brand had real cultural heat, but that heat came from a narrow audience, and the company made the classic mistake of mistaking a loyal niche for a scalable mass market. The expansion plan called for hundreds of physical stores. At peak, they had 61 locations globally. Each store brought rent, labor, inventory complexity, and fixed costs that the brand could not generate enough revenue to justify. Meanwhile, competitors like On Running and Hoka were eating their lunch with customers who cared less about carbon footprints and more about performance and style. Allbirds leaned too heavily on sustainability messaging at a time when most footwear consumers, in the blunt assessment of one retail analyst, simply did not consider it a key purchase factor. Revenue peaked in 2022 and never recovered. By 2025, revenue had fallen to $152 million total, down from nearly $300 million 3 years earlier. The company had lost $419 million across 5 consecutive years. It closed its San Francisco flagship. Then it closed all remaining full-price U.S. stores. By early 2026, a brand that once had 60 locations globally was down to 4. The market cap on the day before the AI announcement, $21 million. The stock had lost 99% of its value since its peak. And then, on April 15th, the press release dropped. Allbirds had quietly signed a deal weeks earlier to sell the entire Allbirds brand. The name, the intellectual property, the shoe designs, everything, to a company called American Exchange Group for $39 million. American Exchange owns licensing businesses for brands like Ed Hardy and Aerosols. They will keep making Allbirds shoes. The name survives. The company behind it does not, because simultaneously, Allbirds announced it had secured $50 million in convertible financing from an unnamed institutional investor. And with that money, the company formerly known as a shoe brand plans to rebrand as NewBird AI and pivot into artificial intelligence compute infrastructure. The long-term vision, taken directly from their press release, is to become a fully integrated GPU as a service and AI native cloud solutions provider. Translation, they are going to buy graphics processing units and rent them out to companies that need computing power to run artificial intelligence. The stock responded in a way that tells you everything about where investor attention is right now. Shares went from $2.49 to close at $16.99, a 582% gain in a single trading day. The company that had been worth $21 million on Tuesday was worth roughly $140 million by Wednesday's close. For context, the $50 million in new financing is more than double what the entire company was worth the day before. Now, the skepticism here is legitimate and worth taking seriously. A retail analyst at Global Data put it plainly to CBS News. There is demand for AI compute capacity, but quite what expertise the so-called NewBird AI has in this space and how it intends to capture market share remain unclear. That is the core question. Buying GPUs and leasing them out is a real business model. Cloud computing companies and so-called neoclouds have built real revenue doing exactly this. But it is also an intensely competitive market dominated by companies with years of operational experience, established customer relationships, and technical depth that a former shoe company does not have. This is also not the first time a struggling company has chased a hot market by completely reinventing itself. The dot-com era is full of companies that slapped a dot-com onto their name and saw their stocks soar before reality caught up. The most famous recent example is Long Island Iced Tea, which renamed itself Long Blockchain in 2017 and watched its stock jump 300% overnight. It did not end well. What Allbirds has going for it that those predecessors did not is that it is essentially using the public company shell as a vehicle for a genuinely new business, fully funded by external capital. The $50 million does not come from the shoe business. Shoe business is being sold. What remains is a NASDAQ-listed entity with fresh financing and a clean mandate to build something new. Whether the people running it have the operational capability to actually build a competitive AI infrastructure company is the entire question. And right now, nobody knows the answer. What is undeniable is that the structure of this moment is real. AI compute demand is genuinely outpacing supply. Data center vacancy rates are at historic lows. GPU procurement lead times for high-end hardware are measured in months. Companies that can provide dedicated compute access to enterprises and AI developers are capturing real revenue. The market NewBird AI is targeting exists and is growing. The stockholder vote on both the asset sale and the financing conversion is scheduled for May 18th. If approved, the special dividend goes out in the third quarter. If you held shares before April 13th, you are in line for that distribution. If you hold shares after, you are betting on whether NewBird AI can actually become what it is claiming it will become. That is a very different bet than the one people thought they were making when they bought their shoes. Whether NewBird AI becomes a real business or a footnote in the history of desperate corporate pivots, this story is worth paying attention to. Because it is not really about one shoe company. It is about what happens when AI demand gets so hot that even a dying sneaker brand looks at it and says, that is our way out. If this story surprised you, hit like and subscribe. New breakdowns like this every week, and drop a comment below. Do you think NewBird AI actually has a shot, or is this just a dead brand chasing a hot market? I want to know what you think.